Checking. It seems like if I have the audio in my studio here, it creates like an echo. So I'm just going to wait for you guys to tell me if it sounds better. Does it sound good, or is it just better than it was? Damn it. Wow. Okay, so I'm hearing sounds good and weird sound again. I know there's a delay between my speaking and responses. Sounds perfect. It's fine. Fine. Good. All right. Okay. Phew. I was afraid I was going to have to cancel and break my streak, as it were. All right. So yeah. So this is page 27, SSoC Conan 2, coming out in April, I think. And hoping to be further along, but I'm not. I gotta play catch up here. So this is a page of Conan after he's been injured. He woke up in a grave. We already drew that page, and he crawled his way into a little hollow in a copse of trees. And here he is. He's working on trying to treat his wounds, and he gets attacked by a pack of wolves. So that's what's happening in this page. I'm going to start with this panel. If I finish that in a reasonable amount of time, I'm going to work on the next panel where he's got the rock. It's going to have like cool shadow going across because that a little bit of fire in the top panel, which I'm not going to move everything because stuff, All right, so here I'm using my usual tools, my Odo ballpoint liquid ink pens. I think I'm going to start with a 01 for the initial facial details here. It was. I mean, it felt like it was like some ominous thing getting closer and closer and closer, which in and of itself was cool, but I didn't want to be talking over that. Again, I got a friend who knows a lot more about this tech than I do. And so I'll talk to him. It might be I picked up this mic. And I paid a fair amount for it, not top dollar. So it could very well be that screwed up. Or could be something with the cam mic that's screwed up. Maybe they were both feedbacking off of each other. I'm not sure. So I'll try and sort that out. I'm completely inept when it comes to this sort of stuff. I have no background in it. This is me just trying to figure it out as I go along. Never been terribly of a mind to get into technology like that. So my bad. But again, it's my apologies for having that thing happen, but I'll do my best to make sure it doesn't happen again by asking people who know what they're doing to sort this stuff out for me. Now, my son would know the camera stuff because he went to Sheridan for film. He's graduated, and he's waiting for the film industry to get its ass together up here in Toronto again. So he's doing like live performance stuff right now. But he can help me with camera issues, but the sound issues or the actual computer tech issues to get all this stuff working, I'm literally clueless. Me draw, no tech. So this face here, because there's a little fire he made, put up rocks, pretty much more to shield the light from getting too wild, because he's kind of hiding here. I mean, he was buried alive by the people who raided his camp. So he's plotted all these rocks. So there's gonna be a nice up angle lighting coming across his face here. And there's one thing I'm going to be doing. It was my idea, and Jim loved the idea. Since he's going to be in this place, I mean, we got serious leg wounds and a broken arm, and a regular human being would take about 6 months for a bone to fully heal. But we're talking Conan. He just has to heal well enough so he can, kick ass again. So he's going to be in this spot for months. It's going to go from spring. I think he's going to spend almost an entire summer healing and surviving in this spot. So one of the things I suggest is that he doesn't have a razor. I think at some point I'm going to suggest that he scrounges from the nearby gravesite to get a dagger or something so he has a knife. But right now he's using a sharpened rock and doing his best to just survive. So he can build a fire. Even though it's spring, he takes advantage of the spring green wood to create like disposable rope, twine, whatever, using the fibers, crushing the fibers to make a bow to start a fire with. I don't know if you've ever seen it. You create like a little bow, like a bow and arrow, and you take a stick, more or less straight stick, you twist it in the string of the bow, and you use it to spin the stick really, really hot to basically create embers. And you mix it with your tinder, and there you go, fire. I mean, if it was nowadays, Conan would of course have a Zippo or something, just because it's what you would have. But anyway, so the point I'm getting to, so he's going to be here. He's not going to have a razor, so he won't be clean shaven Conan. He's going to have a beard by the end of the storyline, which I don't think any of the comics other than King Conan gave him a beard. Because I remember King Conan, they gave him a beard, and that was the differential. This is old Conan, so now he's got a beard. So we're giving young Conan a beard because he's surviving. I'm just here plotting out so I'm pulling his chin down a bit more. This is one of the things I when I started inking myself. Part of the main reason I started inking myself is I realized I was drawing everything tight twice. So if I was like drawing, let's say I was drawing a transport truck with a big trailer, and oh, that was my phone giving me a notification. Transport trucks, and I had a close up on the grill because, like, let's say a bad guy's crawling up the grill in a fight scene. So I draw in exact, precise detail everything, like all the metalwork in that grill and damage and all that stuff. And then if I was going to ink it, I'd be literally drawing the exact same lines for that grill again. And I kind of went, there's got to be a better way. And then I think I was looking at an old interview with Bill Sienkiewicz from when he started inking Moon Knight, and I saw his pencils. And I remember seeing it before. It was just me going through as I was going up through my old magazines and stuff. I kind of went, yeah, you know what? There's a whole bunch of stuff. As long as I get the compositional elements set, I can just draw it in ink. So I do, like, these are wolves. I mean, they're barely there, but I know enough about wolves because I've drawn enough wolves over my career that I can pretty much get these right. And if there's any minor mistakes, like a little bit of white paint, and bang, Bob's your uncle, it's fixed. So there's a lot of stuff. I only do a tight drawing in pencil if I really need everything figured out in that level of detail. So this loose drawing is essentially what I always do now. I don't do tight pencils per se anymore. All right, see here. Thanks, man. Again, this is going to be, this is page 27. It's a 48-page story. For some reason, I also thought it was 44 pages. So, but there's, I hate to say it, there's some pretty easy pages in the last half. Um, it's pretty cool. The idea is, oh, really? Oh, I honestly, I found Jason Aaron very hit or miss with me. I loved Scalped. I really love Scalped. Um, he did a little bit of Batman related work. He did a Rip Claw one shot. I was going, wow, this guy's really good. He did, I think it was a pretty decent Penguin story. And then he started working at Marvel, and I, I hated his Ghost Rider. I really did. I was like, what the hell are you doing with Ghost Rider? It was like he was using an excuse to be as goofy as hell when he was like, he had this rep of like, being like really serious. And I'm okay with people like stretching, but it's like we're talking Ghost Rider here, which is like one of my guys. I mean, uh, if Marvel would let me do what I want to do, Ghost Rider would be one of the characters, right? I've given up on that dream, but yeah. So it's like I read a couple of his Thors and they were okay. But there was just I was fully prepared to be disappointed with his Conan, even though I thought the art was stupendous. Um, I think Jib Zub did the best Conan at Marvel. So he's got like serious stubble. This is about like 3-4 days growth here now. I can draw into the hair because the shadow is going to cover it. And the shadow breaks here too. So I'm doing a combination of rendering to establish tonal value, but also allowing me to get that sparse, stubbly look that kicks in. And that's a little bit of like, hang on, let me get a piece of scrap here. See if I can doodle something out. So I think the first time I saw razor stubble done well in a comic book was in Swamp Thing with Moore, Bissett, and Totalbin. And the one thing is, there's a, if the stubble is pointing towards you, it's a dot. If it's starting to turn away, it turns into a little bit longer. And then as it goes towards the sides, you actually see the length of the hair. Dots, lengths of hair. So that's part of the trick. And then you gotta when you're doing like extreme tonal value, you gotta let that kind of like sparseness of the stubble show up. But still leave room for it to really look. I'd probably go back in and I'll take some 005 uh, pen lengths. Sorry, that sound thing really messed me up. So I'm like mentally catching up. I'll do some extra fine stubble with the finest ballpoint I use, the 005. Hopefully that goes into focus. And but right now I'm just using it the 01. I'm going to go in and do some heavier line work with the thickest line I use from this line, the Oto pens. And then other than that, after that, I either go for a thicker Posca marker, a brush pen, which gives me a lot more flexibility in the line. This might go all the way to black. Another thing I do is I'll render everything with a line weight, and thinking that it might go all the way to black, but giving myself the option to show some restraint, and let some of that light come through it. I mean, the possibility that this might be later collected and colored, apart from Savage Art. With being a 48-page story, it would be a good standalone European size album. So I'm going to go back in right at the end of this. I'm going to go back in and do some digital watercolor, some tonal bits, and but that'll leave the original artwork, line work, pristine, so I could go back in and do this in color if we get the opportunity to do that in the future. So the fire is slightly in front of him. That nose will cast a shadow right across there. So that usually there's a cheekbone highlight if the light's above and coming down slightly from in front. But up here, I'm going to do a core shadow here. And he's really thin, so is that fold here. God, sinolabial fold? I can't remember what it's called. So that wouldn't protrude past his lips here at the front. In fact, this is going to be darker. And so I might do real dark here as I scribble in dark with the fine pen. I know the hair's coming down here, so this is going to go to black, but what I'm doing is I'm just giving myself a lot of texture to work with. Just thinking about other artists who've done stubble. I think the weirdest stubble I ever saw by a comic artist was the otherwise great Steve Rude. He used to do this weird thing where you'd have Nexus, and every once in a while Nexus would have, excuse me while I try and draw this from memory. He'd do this, like this weird kind of like just, they were cartoony as hell. It just didn't work. Just these long lines hatched across the surface of the face to suggest razor stubble. I mean, it worked. You understood it, but it jumped out like crazy. So there's going to be a shadow around his neck from his hair. So this would be dark. Top of his head's there. So the hairline does go through there. This is going to go right into the black of the panel here. All right. Okay, I think I like how that's working. Got to do some tonal value here, the thickness of his brow. above his glowering eyebrow there. So even though the hair is going to be covering a lot of it, I want to get that tonal value right, but I want to get some of that and go in over the top of that with the brush. And I do see some areas where I want to get really darker here. Oh, he looks really messed up, which is good because that's exactly what he is. All right. So I'm using the 005 pen to really get into the nitty gritty around his stubble. This will be a little tedious for the, I don't know, the next 5 or so pages. But as it gets longer, it'll be more like a sparse beard than a heavier beard. It's gonna be black here too. I might even go in with a super fine, like a rigging brush. Let's see here. Oh, this is a beat up one, but yeah. So like rigging brush is a pretty long bristled set of long and thin, so you can get nice long strokes. It holds a certain amount of pigment. That's not even my best rigging brush. I have a finer one, but I think it's in a drawer. Using a rigger brush, I can put the tiniest amount of white paint on it, and then I can actually catch highlights on the stubble as it goes into the darker area here, so I could like go even darker there. Let me grab one of the brush pens. Put him down, and immediately there's 0.5 here. Realize I should give him some stubble on his chin, his throat too. Actually, you know what? Hang on, his upper teeth would be down here. I actually put him up too high. I have to go back in with some white paint and fix that. That's a little bit better. I normally do the panel borders before I start inking, but because I literally finished lightboxing these pencils before stream, I didn't. Bad on me. Let me quickly just quickly do these panel borders here. Now I can finish that panel completely, apart from corrections. I don't have to be careful on these panels either, because this is going to be they're floating on a mostly black. There's like one tree that's going to be in the foreground, so I have to be careful around that. The rest of the panel is going to be mostly black, so it's going to allow the topmost panel to float on top or sit on top of the black area. These three panels sitting on top of it, and then the wolves emerging from that dark, deep shadow. So you can see the wolves clearly here, but when I start inking them, there's stuff I've drawn where, yeah, I'm probably going to ink it because that's the way I do, but I'm going to be inking it into, I was going to say occlusion. I don't know if that's the word I should be using, into absolute darkness. So they're going to be emerging from the shadow there. So hopefully that'll be cool. So this will be mostly, the background here will be mostly solid black with that tree here in the foreground to give a little bit of implication of depth. Some like ground with some grass and bracken growing here at the bottom. You know, spring, so everything's going to be like freshly green. So it's not going to be like super long grasses. One of the things I have to keep in mind as I do the subsequent pages is as we're moving through time of Conan healing, that undergrowth is going to have to become more mature, more robust, and the leaves and like the page I was working on last week, I was starting to finish it off, and I forgot. I started moving on to other pages. I wanted to double check what time of year it was in the spring, so I was initially giving the leaves way too much body, fully developed. Not a good thing. It doesn't look like spring, so probably go back, finish that tomorrow, and then do it with the proper amount of the type of leaves that it would have. This is a thicker, more beat up Posca, so it gives me kind of like rougher finishing strokes. So as I go into the top of his head here, gives it a nice matte black, but it's also kind of ragged enough that when I go back in to imply highlights and stuff, it'll work. Well, hopefully you'll see what I'm talking about here. And the background's like this kind of like quasi overhang from a fallen tree. I think I talked about last week how my studio listening for the last little while has been these almost ASMR, I won't say survival, but like camping videos. And might use a rubber stamp on this. I use it in the other pages with this, just to give it kind of like a rough kind of muddy pattern. I'm doing my best to keep the really, really awesome stuff away from you guys. I was just thinking of the page I was working on earlier, and there's some pretty brutal stuff in this story, and I think we're almost doing like a John Wick with Conan here, where it's like he takes so much abuse as we get into this story. So when he actually, the end of the story, when he's like kicking all sorts of ass, the way Conan does, it's just such a great payoff, I feel. again. Let me catch up on chat here. I like his side Rubik too, yeah. Big John, my God, he was. Well, he's the reason. Frazetta's the reason why I looked at comics, because reading his truncated biography in the Fantastic Art of Frank Frazetta, he talked about how he worked in comics, and I thought, well, if I ever want to do covers like Frazetta, I have to work in comics first, because that's the training ground. And one of the first comics I grabbed was a John Buscema Savage Sword of Conan. I think it was issue 52. I, as quickly as I could, went back and bought issues up to about a year previous to that. And then I was like a diehard buyer till like, I think 170 or something. There were some really bad issues in that run. Not by John though, but John's work. Oh my God. That How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way, which is still, it has so much drawing content in it still that is so well done, that I understand why it's perpetually. I think it's perpetually in print. Stan Lee did that weird little How to Draw Marvel Heroes book, I think with Brian Hitch, and I hate to say it, doesn't hold a candle. Doesn't hold a candle to John's stuff. I like Brian's work. I like Alan Davis, so of course I like Brian's work. Not but yeah, Big John. I got a couple of the art books showing like with his pencils and stuff, but it's mostly superhero stuff. I would love like an artist edition where John was inking himself on Conan. It was just Big John stuff on Conan. That'd be awesome. I did support the Zoop Conan book, which I think has Big John, Barry Windsor Smith, a whole bunch of other people. And I just got to get the light reflection off of that so I can, yeah. I'm going to have to fix these teeth after. It looks like he's wearing like braces there. But I'll do that. A little bit after. Is this? Let me move up to the panel up here. That's nice and centered now. So actually, you know what? I think I can just let the paper sit on the board now. I have a little lip at the bottom of my drawing table. So I can just let the board sit there, nice and centered. Oh, chat. No, nothing new. When I was a kid, I think I read one of the Plug Ghost Riders, and it was like this weird Ghost Rider was in a haunted house, and there's a whole bunch of stuff I just did not understand. The story didn't really make sense, but I just thought this guy cursed to turn into a demonic motorcycle rider. It just stuck in my head, and then like a little bit of mythology about because Marvel always explained that stuff, and it's like, but it did so briefly. It just left all these wide open spaces for me to think about how Johnny Blaze became Ghost Rider, and like how, as a servant of Satan, he was getting rid of bad guys, and that stuck with me. And I had this idea for a long time where I wanted to do a Ghost Rider story set in hell, and with all the continuity around Johnny Blaze and Dan Ketch, I believe. I wanted to stay away from those guys. So I wanted to imply that there were Ghost Riders in hell, and they were hell's law enforcement. And I had made the decision that all the Ghost Riders in hell were like dirty cops. So they were bad enough to go in hell, but they knew how to be cops. So I was going to do a murder mystery set in hell with Ghost Riders trying to solve it. And then I found out that Marvel wouldn't touch a story set in hell these days in the new Disney era with a 10-foot pole. So that dream died. That would have been fun. Okay, so with the fire over here, essentially, the rock he's using, the sharpened rock, is going to be edge lit, but it's going to be dark. Everything on this side of it's going to be shadow. So his forearm's going to be in shadow. So going to shadow going across his bicep, across his torso, into the shadow over here. So again, it's bottom side lit, and it gives me a good shot to show off how the splint is set up here. Which is the primary reason why I designed a panel like that. So in the top panel, I'll probably take the light box paper off. The top panel, you can see it's here, but you're not really seeing it. It's so small. It's going to reduce down. Just that slight jump up in size will allow me to show the details here and get the idea that he's got that splint around his arm. I think it established it was broken well enough in the previous pages. I'm doing time-wise. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to finish this panel and stop. We're already at like 10 to 8. I usually do it about an hour, but because of the false starts, ate up about 10, 15 minutes. I think I should give you guys another panel. So there's going to be a shadow going in through there. I have all that mud texture here, but I'll just recreate it as needed. And with the slightly smaller size, I don't really have to go in and do all the details here, like that weird reflected light and everything. I'm going to do much more of a stark black and white from that side light. That lip come there. Might go back in and do like a little white dot where his eye and shadow is. So you can see it's like just going to be very stark in this panel. If you guys have any questions about anything as I'm working, if I'm not explaining something or you want me to go back and talk about something, always, your questions are always welcome. It helps me from feeling I'm just babbling nonstop to fill the dead air. There. I'm going to use finer lines for any details I do in there. Actually, I want to draw that spear half-assed spear. Now, if Conan was going to be given time, he would be fire hardening this spear, which is part of the reason why, because a raw wooden spear like this is not great. That wood is going to be soft. Fire hardening is what gives it that, not strong as steel, but hard enough to actually puncture and withstand like the damage it would experience as it punctures something. The highlight coming there in the forearm. Where'd I put there? It's chunky prosky. So yeah, I know this is going to be more solid black. Kind of important to, as I go through it, and I grab the wrong pen. There we go. Sometimes you just got to go jump ahead and do something to make sure that what your preparatory work is getting the results you want from it. And the shadow, oh God, I have to do some thinking here. I didn't plot out the shadow from the spear. So the spear is coming towards us on an angle. The light is from the front going that. So even though the light's hitting here, it would show its shadow over there. So it'd be throwing its shadow off panel. So I don't have to worry about the shadow from the spear then. And it's casting shadow across there. So his forearm's going to be casting a shadow on his lower chest. So I can get it done like that. All right. Thanks. Yeah, it's, you have to think about this stuff every. I do want to. Probably not for this Conan thing. I do want to do more layouts like I did for the first page of the Witch story, where I show how I lay out what I'm thinking and talk through the whole process. I think so. I just did a very simple one for the first page. I want to do an action sequence not necessarily high action, but something where there's actual serious motion in the panel, and talk about how I make decisions about how to pull things through. So the eye lines of Conan and the Wolf are the same, and the wolves here are the same. And the eye line of Conan here with the wolves approaching is the same. So the reader gets to look through it. It simplifies the way the reader experiences the information. Becomes obvious they're looking at each other because their eye lines are matching. So Conan's staring and the wolves are staring back. That to me is kind of like an important aspect if it's part of the story. The wonderful thing about the wolves is, and this is a bit of a spoiler, it gives me the opportunity to give him his classic furry loincloth or loinclout or whatever, or his I want to call it the furry diaper, but it's he's going to make use of the wolf pelts he takes here. It'll help him survive out here in the wilderness a lot better. Okay, so he's holding the rock like that. So his thumb is up here. It's also going to be in shadow, but then it would be a black rock in a very shadowed thing. So he's holding it like that. So then there we go. And I'm going to use a 0-1, here we go, to render the shadow of the rock, suggesting it's a lighter object than, Conan's dark, tanned, reddish tinged skin. Put that thumb in shadow as well. Other stuff. Yeah, I'm going to sell pages. I think I'm going to hold off till the till the whole issue is done. If not, it's out. So yeah, I'll probably be handing them all off to my art rep, and we'll have like an actual drop. If you want to be notified, Cadence Comic Art has a mail newsletter, MailChimp, I think. I'm not sure. So you'd be notified. I believe some of you already are my Patreon, so I give my Patreon people like advance notice of all that stuff too. Okay, so I want to give him a fist here. He's using the crook of his elbow to press the spear against his rib cage, so he can actually peel stuff. Imagine how much that would hurt with your arm broken like that. You're still using it to like pin that. That's the idea. Just to establish Conan's toughness to such a degree. But yeah, so cadencecomic.com has a mailing list. So they'll send out an announcement when they're going to do the art drop for the Savage Sword. And if you're on my Patreon, I'll let you know like when I send it to them and when. And on top of that, I'm not sure. I've heard them do it a few times in the past for other stuff, but it's quite possible if you're really, really, really interested in these pages, you could literally reach out to Cadence in advance saying, I am definitely going to be buying like a page or two. There's someone who actually said he might buy the whole issue, and I'm like a little dubious on that because that's 48 pages is a lot of pages, and I don't think we can. I mean, there's no way in hell we're going to make that reasonably affordable. It'd have to be someone with stupid amounts of money to want to buy all 48 pages. But yeah, the point is to, I'm just busting my ass on every single page in this thing. Oh, look, this one extra long stick in a splint. It's just, it was also kind of sharp. I wonder if that'll pay off in this sequence. You know what I mean? Know what I mean? Um, I don't know. I think, yeah, I'm going to show you something. I mean, some of the pages, they're not like super sexy Conan pages, if you know what I mean. There's a double spread I'm going to show you here. I mean, these pages are stupid huge. I mean, I'm generally draw them on 15 by 20. So this is a double spread. Doesn't have Conan on it, but I can't think that would go cheap. I mean, I think it's I'm pretty proud of it. Um, there's still some white paint splatter I want to do on this page before I send it to the Titan people. I mean, it's big art. Crazy action. We're doing stuff with Conan that hasn't been done before. There we go, lock it. Stick in the eye. Yeah, the big splashy Conan pages will probably go for a lot. I don't know what a simple Conan just surviving page will go for. I generally rely on my art rep to sort that stuff out because I'm not. That's why I have an art rep. So I don't have to think about that stuff. He just he figures out. He knows the market a lot better than I do. For me, it's like I'm just happy. Generally, I'm just generally happy when someone loves the work and gives it a good home. I hate to say it, I'm always a little disappointed when I see something that sells, um, and then it's immediately up on eBay. I know people have all sorts of reasons why they would, they buy something and then have to put it on eBay. I get that, but I mean, like, I just noticed someone sent me a link to it. Someone's selling one of the witch pieces on eBay right now. Can't remember which one. And he's selling it for like I think about 25%, 20% markup. And that feels like he just thought I undercharged for my work, which is I try and charge when my art rep asks me. The goal is to charge just enough so people want to buy it and will keep it and take care of it and love it, but not so little that people are going to flip it immediately. That feels like that's the part of the art market I'm not in love with. Like the guys who just like flip art because they want to see if they can make bank off of it. I mean, there's a certain flattering aspect to it, I guess. I mean, you have to look hard and say, "Wow!" So I have so much value that you think you can make money off me by jacking up prices on my work. But it just feels a little. I don't know. I'm the kind of guy that, like, if someone buys my work, I kind of hope that they like the work enough that they're going to keep it. Hopefully that doesn't sound too naive. I want to give super fine line stuff here, 005. Might go back and do a little bit of white paint. I think maybe part of his thumb, just this weird part here. I'll circle it with the pen so I can actually find it later. Would catch some light. Packs there. Thanks, guys. Yeah, I really appreciate it. There was I remember being so upset back when I was like dabbling with sketch cards. Um, some guy just said, "I love your work. I really love your work," and essentially commissioned a bunch of sketch cards. And literally, because I was buying artwork on eBay too. I used to collect original art. At the time, I didn't really have a place to hang it, so I kind of got frustrated and ended up selling it again. Um, didn't even really. I just gave a minimum bid. Some of the pieces went for more than I paid for. Some of them went for less. I didn't care as long as they went to good homes. But those sketch cards I did, he immediately put them up on eBay. Like I mean, immediately. Um, and because I mean, there was also a part of me that was doing like that narcissistic eBay search for my name, and I was kind of disappointed and disheartened by that. Um, you put a little bit of crappy dry brush in the mud here to give them more of an organic feel. I can do that up here too. It's I also understand like if someone like they love a piece and then there's one guy who I knew, huge comic art fan, and what he would do is he'd buy stuff, he'd hang it in his place for a while until he felt, and it's usually like a year or two, and then he would sell it to buy another piece that he would hang in his place for a year or two in his gallery. So that'd be like he'd be doing that constantly, and he was upfront about it. He said, "This is what I do." I was like, because I'd seen him selling work. I think on Comic Art Fans, he was like he spent serious money on it. So I don't want to suggest that he was like like house flipping, as it were, with the comic art variation of it, where he like buy stuff, wait till it accrues a little bit more value, then sells it. It was like he enjoyed it, and he said his reading room, two of the walls in his reading room where he read all his comics and books were comic art, but he had a limited feature and a space for that, and yeah, he just liked having different incredibly beautiful pieces around him, uh, and then instead of like my friend Jim for this, he has a really lovely comic art collection too. What he does is pretty much every year he and Stacy they swap them out. they take some of the pieces down, they put up pieces that haven't been hung for a while, and so that's how he does it. And I think that's a great way to go. I only have 3, I think, original pieces in my apartment right now. I got a Howard Chaykin page. I got a Bill Sienkiewicz Predator drawing. I got a Conan by Eric Canetti. It was wonderful. He just drew it on stream and then he mailed it to me. It was lovely. Kind of lost contact with him. He was very online for a bit, and then he had a kid, and then he wasn't very online. And we just kind of lost touch after that. But yeah, it's like I now have space to hang more original art. I bought some really nice prints. I got the the famous Bernie Wrightson where the monster is holding Frankenstein up by his lapels, threatening to kill him in that gigantic lab. And so when Nakatomi put out started doing all those Wrightson prints, I had to get it. So it's like I got that. I got some of the lovely Nakatomi Frazetta prints, the gigantic poster size Silver Warrior and Death Dealer. So I got those. So it's I kind of feel more comfortable with prints because, like, if something goes wrong, it's a print, it's not the original. So there's always that worry that you're the guy who owns a piece when there's a house fire and then it gets lost forever. I don't want to be that guy. Yeah, I might do a little bit of rubber stamp on this one too. Although, knowing that I'm going in with a digital wash, I might want to leave that for that. Or I might just do a little here. One of the things I can do is I can take incoming noise alert. So this is a nub of a black colored pencil. Since I used vellum paper, I can put this noise right on here. I can use this instead of the rubber stamp. Doesn't erase. I can go dark as light as I want. Oh, yeah, I'll just do this. I can even make hard black lines with it. It's a little bit like the grease pencil, but it doesn't smudge or do weird stuff like the grease pencil does, in my experience. I understand that grease pencil sits on paper long enough, it dries out and it essentially becomes smudge proof. But I haven't worked with it enough to find that out. So there, yeah, I just used a colored pencil to give that a nice little texture. And after I scan it and I do all like the value filters and all that stuff on it, this will come out as a nice texture. I can even go in, like, even here, I can like just go a little bit here under the line work, add a little bit of noise. Does a lovely thing. All right, so I got these 2 panels done. I think we're at about 8:15, 8:20. Let me see here. 8:17. All right, right in the middle. Yeah, okay. So next week is probably going to be Conan again. Very likely the last one, in case I need a couple extra days, which would put me on to the 14th, which would be not good. I want to get it all done so that my publisher is happy. But yeah, so I did I think 2 pretty nice panels tonight. I'm gonna finish this tomorrow. Yeah. So that's it for this week. Thank you all for putting up with the weird sound tech issues. Hopefully I'll remember to ask my friend Stefan about how to avoid that happening. So what happened again? When this video is done, I'm gonna add the thumbnail to it and the other details, and probably post it online so people know what happened. All right, everybody, you have a great week. If you're not already a subscriber, please subscribe. Seeing those numbers go up every week is so nice for my ego, to be honest. That's like just incremental growth just feels good in this day and age. Um, and if you're interested, my $1 a month Patreon is still going strong. It's also slowly growing. There you get to see, like I just posted there, I did a handful of illustrations for an upcoming coming out this summer Conan novel. So there's a handful of illustrations you don't also get to see till the book's out. And covers that aren't coming out for months. You get to see all advanced work. You get to see some of the behind the scenes stuff, some of my pencils, thumbnails, the roughs. Um, the roughs for publisher approval generally gives you the path not taken. So there's a lot of stuff there. On Instagram, Richard Pace on Instagram. I'm on Blue Sky. If you're on Blue Sky, again, Richard Pace. I try to make myself easy to find. I think I just got another batch of invites. So if people want to be on Blue Sky and you're connected with me either on Facebook or Instagram, just ping me and I'll send you an invite. Because I think it's 3, it might be 5. I'm not quite sure. And hopefully I'll see a lot of you. Oh, Paul, I'm really happy you managed to stay up for this one. I know how late it is for you. Yeah, so you guys have a great week. We're almost into February. It's a long February, I believe. I think this February goes to 29, so it's a long February. That means we're already on the downhill side of winter, so weather's going to start getting better soon. You guys have a great week. I will see you next week. Bye.